Let's now talk about the next section of Ray Andre's book on the advice we're giving to you to be a climate leader. And this section is around risk. And we've previously talked a little bit around risk, but we want to go a little bit deeper into this, helping you to understand more than just the impacts of climate change, but also how risk impacts the way we work and the way we lead. So we'll go through a few of these sections. And explain this further to you.
Yeah, obviously with risk, the first one we need to do is to look at the global risk, as what is known about how we will all change and how it will change for all of us worldwide. And obviously we think that one of the best summaries is the IPCC, and you could read the whole climate change 2022 summary for policymakers. I have taken only out a few of the risk in the near-term future, so in 2021 to 2040. And when you read through them, you might kind of be a bit surprised about this language, because they say it's as something is very high confidence or high confidence. This is how they have worded it in these reports. But if scientists say they have very high confidence this is going to happen, yeah, then they really have high confidence. They never say we are 100% sure this is going to happen. Very high confidence is like they're 100% sure that this is going to happen.
When talking about risk, it's important that you try to communicate it in a way that your audience and stakeholders are able to understand. And your role as a climate leader can be impacted and improved by making the problems and the solutions that you're talking about local to the context of your stakeholders and those who are interested in the topic. We provide a few pieces of advice here on how you can do that, about restating the problem, making sure that your key stakeholders are there at the table with you, communicating the different risks that are associated, that are backed up by science, and presenting it and identifying many issues that are addressed within this. The key thing here is that you're developing that personal connection, and relating the issue or solution back to their local situation. And as part of risk, beyond just considering environmental or social risks, there's an element of psychological risk at play here. And since we are talking a lot in this module about how you are using the human psyche and the way humans operate to design and present solutions to these issues, the key thing here is around psychological risk, where what I mean by that is that climate change is such a large problem, such a systemic one, that often people shut down when talking about these, that we avoid or minimize the issues in front of us because they're so scary. And so your role within this will be to demonstrate and present things in such a way that it is manageable to understand, that it is going to affect local communities, and at the same time, we're able to put into place the solutions that we already know.
Yeah, one way to deal with this psychological risk is to highlight solutions, because people, when they are a bit overwhelmed with the problems they are facing, if you can show them some solution at the same time, they often don't shut down. And this is kind of shown by research, and it's also mentioned by Ray in her book. So you might want to look this up as well. And the other one is really to kind of make sure, yes, we can see there in the final sentence, that you bring things in time and space as close as possible to your audience. So wherever they are, try to make it local for them and try to make it current for them as well. And that also the effects of climate change are the ones they might have already experienced or they've experienced close by.
And even though the problems we face are quite daunting, it's important to keep in mind this perspective of optimism, or being a positive individual around the issues that we have. And we do know the solutions and we can implement them. And it's only through grounding yourself in this area of optimism that you're able to address that psychological risk and act from a place of safety and security. We need that optimism. We need you to think about the future and think about ways that we're able to move forward and not be scared and turned off from the stark realism that we're being faced with this, that we know that there is a major issue. There's lots of research out for it. And many organizations, including the US military, are actively planning for a future where climate change affects our daily lives. And so because of this stark realism, this biodiversity loss and challenges to society from migration or challenges from lack of resources, that we keep these issues in mind and put solutions in place that are going to address them. I love this quote about that. It doesn't mean that we should not act. It doesn't mean because of the challenges we face. Rather, it means that we should act because of those things. And if you're wanting to have a motivational understanding of this, check out the work of Rob Hopkins and the Transition Network, where they ask a powerful question of what if? What if we are able to solve the climate problems? What if we are able to bring our greenhouse gas emissions down? What if we can build societies and communities that benefit all people? And I love this article about what a conservationist meeting 100 years from now would sound like. And that when we look back, we'll be proud of the efforts that we're putting into place now. And so to inspire you further and to start putting into place some action, take a second and think about what you consider as the main risks from global warming. And how are average individuals experiencing this risk? What do they have in their day-to-day life or in their planning for their life or for their family? What do they consider in their decision making? And see how that might compare to what you think and how professionals are activating for this. I love this quote from Ray when she says, when climate leaders apply science to risk management, they should anticipate the understandable confusion of lay audiences who face this technological terminology. So communicating this in an effective way is part of your work as a climate leader.
Thanks. Yeah, do you think the energy sector can be part of climate solutions? And I think there's a lot of debate out there. I was yesterday, only a student came at an event to me and said, you should stop the fossil fuel industry coming to the university. And we have our fairs, as when the companies are coming, don't let them come anymore. They should be not allowed at the university. You should take a stance as a university. So he was actually quite vocal about that, as how we should actually deal with all the fossil fuel industries. Obviously, there are other people who say, no, they have to be part of the climate solution. They should be integrated, the fossil fuel industries. Others might say, don't integrate the current fossil fuel industries. Try to actually have new companies coming up who are actually covering the renewable sector. So I think there are lots of different ways of how people see this problem. And Stephen, what do you think? I mean, you have put here a few things together. What do we have to consider?
Yeah, around the first one, there is the need for system change. And there may be winners or losers when it comes to the large stores of fossil fuels that are in the ground that need to be left and preventing new reserves from being drilled. But there will be winners where transitioning away from fossil fuels provide a massive investment opportunity for fossil fuel companies to develop and change their business models. And we see this happening through the motivators of transition and litigation risk, where the transition risk of not being able to change is requiring the carbon majors to have a seat at the table. Allowing them to be part of the solutions will also allow for accountability and action to happen within this space. And finally, we need to move past the tribal nature of the way we work and thinking of ways that we can cooperate together so that it's not about focusing on who is going to be making the most or who is going to be the winner from investing in solar, but together we're able to implement changes within the energy sector to allow for this transition of knowledge, sharing of the different solutions, and how to implement best. And so your role within these is going to be working to develop and minimize intergroup conflict, allowing for a path forward to come where you're communicating with individuals who may be very much against this systemic change. How do you bring them in? By creating this safe space that allows them to have a seat at the table to advocate for actual actionable change.
And I think in the next session, we will show you how this collaboration can work across industries, with governments, and so on. So we will pick up this question again. So watch the space and do join us in the final session.